But my point for posterity's sake, for legacy, when you do look at the greats, you nitpick, and if he doesn't have any finals MVPs in 4 championships, then I think that's something people can hold against him. So I do think it will help him in that regard. But I look, in his 4 finals, he's averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists.
I believe it'll be a cherry on the top because you're talking about a guy that will have multiple regular season MVPs, multiple finals victories, and a finals MVP. It's hard. It's going to be hard if he wins this one, wins the MVP, that you keep him out of the top 10. And everybody
all time.
People keep talking about Steph Curry's playing so bad in the finals, but let me tell you who Steph Curry has a higher scoring average in the finals than: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, and D. Wade.
Wow, that's impressive.
Steph Curry has a higher final scoring average. Now, a lot of people think Kareem could be considered the GOAT.
Right.
People think Kobe Bryant's a top 10, Larry Bird's a top 10. And Steph Curry averages more points in the finals than those 5 guys. Can I interest you in that, Skip, baby?
Well, I got a whole lot to
Well, yeah, okay. But with that being
That's strong.
With that being said, Skip,
They shoot it every day. Like, they're just shooting like crazy. They're getting up threes.
But Showtime was scoring a lot of points.
Yeah,
and Kobe obviously shooting.
Yeah. But the thing is that, look, if you look at his last 2 in 2017, he averaged 27, 8, and 9. KD averaged 35, 8, and 5, clearly. Last year, 27, 6, 7. KD was 29, 11, 7.5. You can get that. But even Kobe, the last 2 that Kobe and Shaq won together, Shaq was 36 and 12. Kobe was 27, 6, and 5. So you see, Skip, sometimes you can play well, but then the player on your team has such a historic run. What Kevin Durant was, and then everybody remembers, Skip, that Game 3 shot. Then he follows that up, KD, in the sweep with a triple-double. How do you overlook that even though Steph was still doing his work? So for me, yes, this is icing on the cake. This is the cherry on top of the sundae. It's still a great dessert, but now Skip, they win this, and I believe he's going to have to be the finals MVP if KD doesn't come back and play. It's going to be hard. I don't know how you keep Steph Curry out of the top 10.
And you even said the other day, before Skip started, would you put him ahead of Magic as the greatest point guard ever if they win this?
Might have to.
Might have to.
I think he's chasing. I wouldn't quite go that far yet.
So somebody across the table from me, I'm going to alert our brighter fans out there in the audience that somebody is trying to undercut the fact that Kevin Durant has become the best player on the planet. Somebody's trying to make a case for his teammate being better, being a top 10 player.
Who said that?
There's also a number 2 out there making the
he's
making the
a big
claim
case.
too.
Boy, he's had a lot of shaky fourth quarters, that guy. But here's the point. You both are omitting the key detail here in the timeline. Off his second straight MVP season, which was the first ever unanimous MVP season. It was extraordinary. He shot 45% from 3. He led the NBA in scoring and steals and PER. It's just impossibly great what he did that year. And he goes into those playoffs, right? And what happened in game
5, 6, 7.
5, 6, and 7 of that?
He didn't play well. He came up small.
He came up smaller than he is at 6'2" or 6'3", whichever he is. And again, just for posterity's sake, in those games, he averaged 37% from the field and 36% from the free throw line after he shot 45 during the regular season. And then we go
from
to
3.
Yeah,
from
from
3. You
3.
said from free throw line. I was about to say
no,
free throw
from
line.
3. No, from
Okay.
3. And game 7, he shot 6 for 19 in his house. If it's his team, it's his house. 4 of 14 from 3, and then we get to that fateful fourth quarter where it's a nip-tuck game throughout the fourth quarter, and he goes 1 of 6 from the field and 1 of 5 from 3, and even Shannon admits he just threw the literal trophy out of bounds behind his back into the ninth row, right?
Fair.
Okay, so it was after that game that Steph led the charge, the Hampton 5, to Long Island in early July to recruit Kevin Durant, right?
You don't think Draymond led it?
Okay, well, that's what you've talked about. But again, Steph was the front man. When they got there, he was the one most outspoken. We need Kevin Durant. Well, if you're going to publicly admit that in a way no other superstar would ever admit that, no Jordan, no Bird, no Magic, would ever say
KD
publicly.
would.
Huh?
KD
okay,
would.
Okay, well, I'm
there.
just saying, but I'm talking about the greats, right? Okay, KD was stuck with a guy that he thought would forever handicap his ability to win one championship. He just said, I can't win with him as my primary decision maker, Russell Westbrook. So he says, I'm going in my 10th year. I'm going to maximize my chances of winning rings. And it looks like he's on his way to maybe 3 straight rings, right?
Right.
Okay, so now, what did we see from Steph? He is publicly on the record as saying, we weren't good enough without him. Well, you're disqualifying your top 10 just by that admission alone. You just are.
I'll give you some of that. I wouldn't say disqualify, but I'll give you that. But that's why this is so important. If KD doesn't come back,
It's beautiful.
and if KD leaves,
Silver platter
right?
opportunity. This is it, right?
So this
here, right
this
now.
goes. You go full circle.
Okay.
Right.
I would skip. I believe going to the Hamptons served 2 purposes. Not only do you get him because maybe they were thinking, man, this is going to be tough. He stays in OKC. They had us down 3-1. So we get him out of OKC. Well, we just lost to the Bron.
Yeah.
He can't beat Bron. I don't know with Kyrie staying there, we're going to be able to beat Bron. If we can take him away from OKC, get him to us.
Okay.
Now we overwhelmed.
Okay, and I'm going to say this one more time. If you look at Steph's regular season stats for career against his career playoff,
Right.
all of his playoff numbers are a little off. Not a lot off,
just
but they're a little down, little down. Every category is down, down, down. You can't find one that's up. So back to 2015, your contention, he should have won that MVP. I disagree with you. That series felt lost to me because of your man and your man too. LeBron had taken it over. It was the greatest stretch of his basketball career. He put that team on his broad shoulders and said, I'm going to carry you guys home with no Kevin Love, and Kyrie fractures his knee in the overtime of game 1. And they lost that game barely in overtime. Then they win game 2. Then they go to LeBron's house and win game 3. They're playing at LeBron. Game 4, they're in big trouble. They're down 2-1. I thought LeBron was going to pull this one off. And the move of the year that year was made by young coach Steve Kerr, who said, I'm putting Iguodala, you made the case, he saw late in game 3.
He stumbled into it.
He saw, oh, wait a second, maybe Iggy does bother LeBron a little bit. So he bothered him a lot in game 4. And that was the pivotal game to me because they got back in charge of the series because he held LeBron to 7 of 22 that day. And it was way below what, remember,
He was shooting a low percentage that whole series.
Okay, but he was
Because he was shooting a lot more than he
shooting a
used
lot
to.
of shots.
Yeah, he was volume shooting.
Yeah,
Straight
do
32
everything.
volume
Like
shooting.
22 was low for
Yeah, because he was like
Right.
38,
It was.
one shot. Yeah,
Okay.
he's like 38, almost 40 shots.
He did do a good job on LeBron for the next 3. A decent. He kept him in check. But he kept him in check. He changed the
36,
flow.
16,
okay,
and
but,
10.
Okay, that's for the whole series.
But for those last 2 games, I'm
All
just saying.
But my point is, so he goes in, and in that game, he made 4 of 9 threes. Iggy did, right? He scored 22 big points. Then he scores 14,
Yeah,
and
he
then
did
the
score.
closeout, 25 points. So he hits 9 of 22 threes over his 3-game starting stretch. Meanwhile, Steph is making 14 of 31 over the last 3 games. So that's back to his regular season of 45%. But the turning point is Iggy going to the starting lineup. So the value player, the guy who, the most impactful player to me was Iguodala. And we've seen him do it regularly, shut people down.
And he did it again in these playoffs.
Yeah.
But I tell you what's going to happen. Kevin Durant does not go back to Golden State. Steph Curry will be open up as the favorite to win the MVP next year.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you're right. If they win it this year.
Even if they don't win it.
If they don't win it, I think Kawhi would.
When
Well, yeah.
If Toronto wins these finals,
Right.
I think Kawhi will be the favorite next year for the MVP.
playing for
Whoever
the
though,
question.
I think whoever, whether it's the Clippers or the Raptors,
Not if
I
he
think
go-
he'll
not
be
if
the
he goes
MVP.
and links up with someone.
well, I was just going to say, if
What
he's
if
a
he links
Laker,
up?
I think he's the.
Or Kyrie or
I don't necessarily expect him to link. Not that it's impossible.
Right.
He might, but I don't expect Kawhi. I expect KD and Kyrie to link with somebody, maybe each other, but I don't necessarily expect that from Kawhi. You think he's?
if number 2 is number 2 to LeBron next year, there's no MVP
Oh.
in that.
I don't
Okay.
know.
No, you're right about that. But I
For
mean,
either player, I would
yeah. If the Lakers,
But Steph-
but if Kawhi leads Toronto to the championship without a second star this year, why would he go to the Lakers?
He's from here.
I
mean,
think
he
it
wants
would-
to play here.
I mean, God bless him if he
But
does.
we're talking about with Steph. But you're getting in the rarefied air. When you talk about multiple regular season MVPs, multiple finals championships, and a finals MVP, you got to talk about Duncan and Jordan and Bird and LeBron, Skip, Kareem, Magic. That's the air he'll be in.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, I love him. In fact, you and I used to go back and forth, if you remember, at ESPN before this draft, and I kept saying, I'm taking Steph #1, and you love Blake Griffin.
Yeah, I didn't. I did not foresee this with Steph Curry.
Well, now we're even talking about top. You're bringing up top 10 all
Because
time.
the normal rule of thinking in anything, fighting, playing, you always take the good big man over the good little man.
Well,
And for the most part, you would have been right.
well, to that point,
Well,
Blake
the
Griffin
way
had
the
been at
game's
Oklahoma
changed.
for 2 years, not
Right.
1 year, but 2 years, and he couldn't make a shot beyond 1 foot from the basket.
Right.
He's learned to shoot.
Right.
He
got 3-point range
I
now.
know. Now he's
So there is hope for Giannis.